The emergency beacon cut through the void like a scream in the night. Captain Zara Chen stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, her coffee cup forgotten in her hand as the communications array lit up with warnings. The sound that filled the bridge wasn't just any distress call. It was the universal emergency frequency, reserved for only the most dire situations across the galaxy. "Captain," called Lieutenant Marcus Webb from the communications station, his voice tight with tension. "You need to hear this." Zara set down her cup and moved to Webb's station. Around her, the bridge crew had gone silent, their usual chatter replaced by an electric anticipation. The Defiance was humanity's newest deep space explorer, 3 months into a routine survey mission in the Kepler sector. Routine missions didn't usually involve galaxy-wide emergency signals. "Play it," she ordered. The message crackled through the speakers, fragmented and desperate. The voice that emerged wasn't human. It was high-pitched, musical, but trembling with terror. This is Council Ship Harmony's Edge, under attack by unknown hostiles. They came from nowhere. Shields failing, crew dead. If anyone receives this, warn the galaxy. They're not like anything we've seen. They consume, they learn, they adapt. Static consumed the message for several heartbeats before it continued. "We're broadcasting all our data on the attackers. Please, someone. The Vanguard fleet is gone. Nexus Station is dark. They're heading for the core worlds. Tell them the Devourers have returned. Tell them we're sorry we didn't believe the old warnings." The transmission cut to white noise. The bridge remained silent for a long moment. Zara could hear her own heartbeat in her ears. The Vanguard fleet was the Galactic Council's premier military force, 8,000 ships strong. Nexus Station was a massive trading hub, home to over 50 million beings from dozens of species. "Sir," Webb said quietly, "that message, it's not just being broadcast to us. It's being sent to every inhabited system in the galaxy. And Captain," he paused, checking his instruments, "the source coordinates put the Harmony's Edge in the Centauri cluster. That's only 3 days from Earth." Zara felt ice form in her stomach. Earth, humanity's homeworld, with its 8 billion souls who had no idea what might be coming their way. "Communications," she barked, her command voice cutting through the tension. "Priority 1 transmission to Earth Command. Tell them, we're investigating and we'll report back. Helm, set course for the source coordinates maximum burn." "Captain," interrupted Dr. Sarah Kim, the ship's xenobiologist. She was pale, her usually steady hands shaking as she read something on her tablet. "I've been analyzing the technical data from that transmission. These Devourers, if the readings are accurate, they're unlike anything in our databases. They seem to absorb the technology and biology of whatever they encounter, incorporating it into themselves." "Meaning?" Zara asked, though she suspected she already knew the answer. "Meaning they get stronger with every victory. And Captain, according to this data, they've already encountered and absorbed the technology of at least 12 different advanced species." The gravity of the situation settled over the bridge like a suffocating blanket. Somewhere out there, an enemy that grew stronger, with each conquest was potentially heading toward humanity's home. And the UES Defiance, with its crew of 127 humans, might be the only thing standing in their way. "Time to the coordinates?" Zara asked. 18 hours at maximum burn," replied the helmsman. "Then we'd better hope we're fast enough," Zara muttered, watching the stars stretch into lines as the ship jumped to faster than light speed. Behind them, Earth continued its peaceful rotation, unaware that somewhere in the darkness, an ancient nightmare had awakened and was perhaps looking in their direction with hungry, adaptive eyes. Chapter 2. First Contact with Horror. The Harmony's Edge drifted like a broken monument against the stars. Zara stood in the shuttle bay, suited up for EVA, surrounded by her away team. The council ship was massive, easily 5 times the size of the Defiance, but it hung motionless in space, its once graceful curves now scarred with wounds that defied easy explanation. "Readings are all over the place," muttered engineer Tom Ricci, adjusting his scanner for the 3rd time. Parts of that ship are giving off energy signatures I've never seen before. And parts of it, it's like they're not there at all, Doctor. Kim nodded grimly. The Zalari build their ships from biometallic compounds. They grow them rather than construct them. But these damage patterns, she shook her head. It's like something ate portions of the hull. Ate? Asked Sergeant Jake Morrison, the team's security chief. His hand instinctively moved to his plasma rifle. Consumed, absorbed, digested, Kim explained. The molecular structure shows signs of systematic breakdown and removal. Whatever did this didn't just damage the ship. It took parts of it. The shuttle Pioneer detached from the Defiance with a gentle hiss of thrusters. As they approached the derelict vessel, more details became visible through the viewports. What they saw made the entire team fall silent. The ship looked partially melted. Not from heat, but as if something had selectively dissolved portions of its structure. Organic-looking growths covered some sections, pulsing with a faint sickly light. Other areas were simply gone, creating impossible geometric voids in the hull. Jesus, whispered Morrison. What could do that to a ship? Something that treats matter as a resource, Kim replied quietly. Something that sees technology not as a tool but as food. They docked with the Harmony's edge through what remained of its main airlock. The moment they stepped aboard, everyone could feel that something was wrong. The air recycling system was still functioning, but the atmosphere felt thick, oppressive. Their suit sensors detected elevated levels of unfamiliar organic compounds. Stay together, Zara ordered. Full sensor sweeps. Document everything. The corridors of the ship told a story of systematic horror. The Zalari crew hadn't died quickly. Scorch marks on the walls showed where they'd made desperate last stands. Emergency barricades had been thrown up at choke points, only to be torn apart by something that could apparently adapt to whatever resistance it encountered. Captain, Morrison called from ahead. You need to see this. They found him standing at the entrance to what had been the ship's central command center. The room beyond was a nightmare fusion of technology and biology. Zalari computer systems had been partially dissolved and rebuilt into configurations that hurt to look at. Organic tubes and cables snaked between the original technology and newer alien components that pulsed with their own rhythm. In the center of it all sat what had once been the ship's captain. The Zalari officer was still alive but barely recognizable as the graceful butterfly-like being his species was known for. Mechanical and organic growths covered half his body, and his compound eyes had been replaced with multifaceted sensors that tracked their movement with predatory intensity. Help. Me. The thing that had been captain whispered through vocal cords that were now part machine, part something else entirely. Dr. Kim stepped forward, scanner in hand, but Zara caught her arm. Don't get too close. The process, it's reversible. In early stages. The transformed captain continued. But they learn, they adapt. Each attempt to resist teaches them how to overcome. What are they? Zara demanded. What do they want? The captain's hybrid head turned toward her with jerky, unnatural movements. They are what we made ourselves. Long ago, before we learned wisdom. They are evolution without conscience, progress without restraint. Where did they come from? Morrison asked, his weapon ready despite knowing it would likely prove useless. The dark, between galaxies, where we cast them, when we realized what we had done. The captain's voice was failing, the mechanical components in his throat grinding. They have learned, adapted, evolved. They come home now, to reclaim their creators. The creature that had been the Zalari captain suddenly convulsed, its hybrid body arching in apparent agony. They know. You're here. They taste. Your technology, your biology, through me. Alarms began blaring throughout the derelict ship. Through the twisted viewports, they could see space itself beginning to ripple and tear. Something massive was forcing its way through the fabric of reality. Move, Zara shouted. Everyone back to the shuttle now. As they ran through the nightmarish corridors, Kim grabbed data cores and sample containers, her scientific instincts overriding her terror. Behind them, the transformed captain's laughter echoed through the ship, a sound that was equal parts Zalari musical trill and electronic static. They reached the shuttle just as the first Devourer ship materialized in normal space. It was impossible to look at directly, its surface seeming to shift between states of matter. One moment it appeared metallic, the next it looked organic, then something that was neither and both. "Go, go, go!" Zara yelled as the shuttle disengaged from the dying council ship. Through the rear viewer, they watched as tendrils of energy reached out from the Devourer vessel and began systematically dismantling the Harmony's edge. But they weren't destroying it. They were absorbing it, learning from it, making it part of themselves. "Captain," the shuttle pilot called back, "I'm reading 3 more contacts materializing behind us. They're not like anything in our databases." As the Pioneer raced back toward the Defiance, Zara stared at the growing fleet of impossible ships in their wake. Each one was different, incorporating design elements from dozens of species, but all sharing that same quality of wrongness that made human minds want to look away. "Get us back to the ship," she ordered, "and transmit everything we recorded to Earth. If we don't make it back, at least they'll know what's coming." Behind them, the Devourer fleet turned in their direction with a predatory grace that suggested they had been expected all along. The hunt had begun, and humanity had just announced itself as the next prey. Chapter 3. The Chase Through the Void. The UES Defiance ran for its life through the star-scattered darkness. "Contact report," Zara barked as she strapped herself into the captain's chair. The ship shuddered around them as the Devourer vessels gave chase, their impossible geometries somehow allowing them to match the human ship's speed, despite their massive size. "4 confirmed hostiles in pursuit," reported Lieutenant Webb from Tactical. "Sir, their energy signatures are unlike anything in our databases. It's like they're powered by controlled reality distortions." Dr. Kim looked up from her console, her face pale but determined. "Captain, I've been analyzing the samples we collected. These creatures, they're not just absorbing technology and biology randomly. They're learning. Each piece they consume teaches them something new about their prey." "Meaning?" Zara asked, though she was watching the tactical display where the Devourer ship seemed to be slowly gaining ground. "Meaning they're studying us right now. Our engine emissions, our hull composition, our communication frequencies. Every second they follow us, they're learning how to better hunt us." The ship lurched as something invisible struck their rear. Shields. Warning lights cascaded across the bridge displays. "Shields down to 80%, called Chief Engineer Ricci from his station. "Whatever they're hitting us with, it's not showing up on sensors until impact." "Evasive maneuvers," Zara ordered. Random pattern, full impulse. The helmsman's hands flew over his controls, sending the Defiance into a spiraling dive between 2 asteroid fields. For a moment, they thought they might have bought themselves some time. Then the asteroids behind them began to glow and dissolve as the Devourer ships passed through them, absorbing even the raw matter into their ever-changing hulls. "They're not just following us," Morrison observed grimly from the security station. "They're consuming everything in their path. Look at the star charts. Every system they've passed through shows reduced mass readings." Zara felt a chill run down her spine. It wasn't just about conquering or destroying civilizations. These things were literally eating the galaxy, 1 star system at a time. "Captain," Webb interrupted. "Incoming transmission. It's not from the Devourers. It's coming from the inner systems on a tight beam frequency. Put it through." The voice that emerged from the speakers was distinctly non-human, with the crystalline quality of the Threnody species, but it was speaking perfect English. "Human vessel Defiance. This is Fleet Commander Veltar of the Threnody Resistance. We have been monitoring your encounter with the Devourers. We offer assistance, but you must follow our exact instructions." Zara exchanged glances with her senior staff. The Threnody were known as master strategists, but they were also notoriously xenophobic. For them to be offering help to humans suggested the situation was even worse than they'd thought. "This is Captain Chen. We're listening, Commander." You cannot outrun them, Captain. They adapt to every tactic within minutes of observing it. But there is something about your species that may give us an advantage. Your ship's records indicate you come from what the galaxy considers a death world. Dr. Kim leaned forward. Earth is classified as a Class 12 hazard world by the Galactic Council. Most species consider it barely habitable. Precisely, Veltar continued. The Devourers have consumed the technology and biology of thousands of civilized species, but they have never encountered a species that evolved in constant conflict with its own environment. We believe this may be their weakness. Another impact rocked the ship, stronger this time. Shields at 60%, Ricci reported. Commander Veltar, Zara said urgently, whatever you're proposing, we need to hear it now. Change course to bearing 127.4 by 83.7. There is a system there with a pulsar and several unstable planets. Most species would consider it a death trap. For your kind, it may be salvation. Zara hesitated for only a moment. They were running out of options, and the Devourer ships were steadily closing the distance. Helm, you heard the coordinates. Take us there, maximum burn. As the Defiance changed course, the Devourer ships immediately adjusted to follow. But something strange happened. For the first time since the chase began, they seemed to hesitate, their perfect formation wavering slightly. Interesting, Dr. Kim observed. Their pursuit pattern just changed. They're being more cautious. Maybe they're learning something they don't like, Morrison suggested. The system Veltar had directed them to was indeed a nightmare by galactic standards. The pulsar at its center sent out deadly radiation pulses every few seconds. The planets were either molten hellscapes or frozen wastelands racked by constant seismic activity. For most spacefaring species, it would be certain death. For humans who had evolved dodging asteroids, surviving ice ages, and building civilizations despite volcanic eruptions and gamma-ray bursts, it looked like home. Captain, Webb reported, the Devourers have stopped at the edge of the system. They're not following us in. Why? Zara wondered aloud. The answer came from an unexpected source. The transformed Zalari captain from the Harmony's Edge appeared on their view screen, his hybrid features now even more mechanical than before. Because, Deathworld children, he said with that horrible electronic laugh. They have learned something new from observing you. They have learned that some prey fights back. The transmission cut out, leaving the bridge in tense silence. Sir, the helmsman called out, I'm reading massive energy buildups throughout the system. Whatever the Devourers are planning, they're not giving up. They're just changing tactics. Through the main view screen, they could see the impossible. Ships of their pursuers beginning to shift and reconfigure themselves, incorporating new elements that hadn't been there before. They were adapting again, but this time they were adapting specifically to hunt humans. The real battle was about to begin, and Earth's children were about to discover whether their heritage as the galaxy's ultimate survivors would be enough to face an enemy that learned from every defeat. Chapter 4. When Deathworlders fight back, the space around the pulsar system became a battlefield unlike anything the galaxy had seen. Captain Zara, Chen stood on the bridge of the Defiance, watching as the Devourer ships began their assault. But these weren't the same vessels that had chased them through normal space. They had adapted, reconfiguring themselves into forms specifically designed to hunt humans in the hostile environment of the pulsar system. They're using the radiation as a weapon, Dr. Kim reported, her voice tight with concentration. Somehow they're focusing the pulsar's emissions into coherent beams. The first blast struck their port side, but instead of the devastating impact they expected, the Defiance's shields held. More than held, they seemed to absorb and redistribute the energy. How is that possible? Engineer Ricci demanded from his station. Because, came a new voice from the communications array, human technology isn't just about efficiency, it's about survival. The speaker was Fleet Commander Veltar, but now they could see him on their view screen. The Threnody was a crystalline being, his translucent body refracting light into rainbow patterns. Behind him, they could see what appeared to be a massive fleet of ships from dozens of different species. Commander, Zara said, you mentioned a resistance. Indeed, Captain. We are the survivors. Every species the Devourers have encountered and failed to completely consume. We have been waiting, learning, preparing, but we needed the right catalyst. Us? Morrison asked skeptically. Your species, yes. You see, the Devourers have a fatal flaw. They assume that all intelligence follows the same pattern of peaceful development that characterizes most galactic civilizations. But humans, Veltar's crystalline features somehow managed to convey what might have been admiration. Humans evolved in constant warfare, not just with each other but with your entire planet. Another wave of Devourer ships materialized at the edge of the system, but these were different again. They had incorporated elements that looked disturbingly familiar. Are those human design features? Dr. Kim asked, horrified. They're learning from our technology signature, Zara realized. Every scan they take of us teaches them more about human engineering. Exactly, Veltar confirmed. But that is also their weakness. They expect your technology to follow logical, predictable patterns. They do not understand that human engineering is often deliberately inefficient, redundant, and chaotic because it has to function in impossible conditions. As if to prove his point, the Devourers launched a coordinated attack that should have overwhelmed the Defiance's defenses. But the human ship systems responded in ways that defied the attackers' calculations. Instead of failing when overloaded, the power grid rerouted through backup systems that had backups of their own. When the shields were penetrated, emergency bulkheads sealed the breaches while repair nanobots swarmed to fix the damage. It's like they built their attack plan around fighting a normal ship, Lieutenant Webb observed. They didn't account for human paranoia engineering. Human what? Veltar asked. Paranoia engineering, Ricci explained with a grim smile. We build everything assuming it's going to break, be sabotaged, or explode. So we build it to keep working anyway. The battle intensified as more Devourer vessels entered the system. But something unexpected began happening. The Resistance fleet, that had been waiting in the outer dark, started moving, attacking not the Devourers directly but the space around them. What are they doing? Morrison asked. Dr. Kim's eyes widened as she studied the tactical display. They're creating chaos. Random gravitational fields, electromagnetic storms, radiation bursts. They're making the environment unpredictable. And the Devourers can't adapt to chaos, Zara realized. They can learn from patterns, but random events. She grinned fiercely. Helm, take us into that mess. Full impulse, evasive pattern, random. Sir, that's practically suicide, the helmsman protested. For any normal ship, yes, but we're human. We specialize in suicide missions that somehow work out. The Defiance plunged into the chaotic battlefield, dodging debris, radiation storms, and gravitational anomalies with a reckless skill that seemed to border on madness. Behind them, the Devourer ships tried to follow, but their adaptive algorithms couldn't cope with the constantly changing conditions. They're making mistakes, Webb reported with growing excitement. Their formation is breaking down. They're hitting each other because they're trying to adapt to everything at once, Kim explained. They can't distinguish between intended threats and random chaos. It's overloading their learning systems. Through the main view screen, they could see other human ships joining the battle. The UES Vengeance, a heavy cruiser that had been thought lost. The UES Intrepid, a science vessel that had apparently weaponized its research equipment. Each ship fought with the same controlled insanity that characterized human combat doctrine. This is Admiral Sarah Martinez aboard the Vengeance, came a familiar voice. All human vessels, implement Protocol Omega. Zara felt her blood turn, cold. Protocol Omega was the final option, reserved for species-ending threats. It meant using every weapon, every ship, every life if necessary to stop an enemy. Captain, Dr. Kim said quietly, I've been analyzing the Devourers' adaptive patterns. There's something we haven't tried, something they won't expect because no civilized species would ever attempt it. What? Ramming speed. The bridge fell silent. Ramming was considered barbaric by galactic standards, the tactic of primitives who lacked sophisticated weapons. They'll adapt to our weapons, our shields, our tactics, Kim continued. But they won't expect us to just crash into them because no sane species would sacrifice their ships that way. Zara looked around the bridge at her crew. They were all staring at her, and she could see the same realization in their eyes. It wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about proving that sometimes civilization needed a little barbarity to survive. All stations, prepare for ramming speed, she ordered. Target the largest Devourer vessel. If we're going to send a message, let's make sure they remember it. But as the Defiance accelerated toward its target, something unexpected happened. The other human ships in the battle began forming up around them, creating a spearhead formation that would maximize the impact. Incoming transmission from Admiral Martinez, Webb reported. Put her through. Captain Chen, came the Admiral's voice, you've given us the perfect battle plan, but you're not going alone. Every human ship still operational is joining this attack. If the galaxy wants to see what Deathworlders do when cornered, we'll give them a demonstration they'll never forget. As the human fleet accelerated toward the Devourer formation, Zara realized that they had already won, regardless of the battle's outcome. They had shown the galaxy that some species don't just adapt to hostile environments. They become hostile environments, turning their own capacity for destruction into a weapon against those who would consume them. The impact, when it came, was visible across 3 star systems. And in its aftermath, the surviving Devourer ships did something they had never done before. They retreated. Epilogue. The message home. 3 months after the Battle of the Pulsar system, Captain Zara Chen sat in her ready room aboard the IDAR rebuilt UES Defiance, composing the most important report of her career. The ship looked different now. Alongside human technology, it incorporated elements from dozens of species that had joined what the galaxy now called the Death World Alliance. The Threnodi had contributed their crystalline computing systems. The Vorthon had shared their gravity, manipulation technology. Even the surviving Zalari had offered their biomechanical synthesis techniques, but it was still fundamentally human in its chaotic, redundant, paranoid design philosophy. Captain, came Dr. Kim's voice over the intercom. You should see this. We're receiving signals from the edge of the galaxy. It's the Devourers. Zara made her way to the bridge where the main view screen showed a transmission that made her blood run cold. It was the transformed Zalari captain from the Harmony's edge, but he looked different now. More organic, less mechanical, almost normal. Deathworld children, he said, but his voice no longer carried that electronic distortion. We wish to speak. This is Captain Chen. What do you want? To understand, we have consumed thousands of species, learned from countless civilizations, but never before have we encountered prey that fought back so effectively. You have shown us something new. What's that? Zara asked, not trusting this apparent change. That evolution is not just about adaptation, it is also about choosing what to become. We wish to learn this from you. The transmission showed other figures now, Devourers that had begun reverting to their original forms, whatever those might have been. The compulsive consumption that had driven them across the galaxy seemed to be giving way to something else. We will withdraw to the spaces between galaxies, the former captain continued. We will learn to choose our path, as you have learned, to choose yours. But we leave you with a warning and a gift. What warning? We were not the first to be cast out from this galaxy. There are others in the dark, older and hungrier than we ever were. When they come, you will need to be ready. And the gift? The view screen changed, showing star charts and technical readouts. The locations of every species we consumed. Many can be restored from the genetic templates we preserved. Consider it payment for the lesson you taught us. The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in thoughtful silence. Do you think they mean it? Morrison asked. I think, Zara said slowly, that we just taught the galaxy's ultimate predators how to have a conscience. Whether that's good or bad remains to be seen. Later, alone in her quarters, Zara finally finished her report to Earth Command. It ended with words that would become legendary throughout human space. the galaxy has learned something important about humanity. We are not just another species that happened to evolve on a dangerous world. We are the product of that world, shaped by its challenges, defined by its hostility. We do not just survive in impossible conditions. We make impossible conditions survivable for others. The Galactic Council once classified Earth as a death world, too dangerous for civilized life. They were wrong. Earth is not a death world. Earth is a training ground, and now the galaxy knows what it trained us for. When the darkness comes again, as it surely will, the civilized species of the galaxy will not face it alone. They will face it with the backing of 8 billion humans who learned long ago that sometimes the only way to preserve civilization is to embrace a little barbarity. The Devourers came to consume us. Instead, we taught them how to choose. The next threat may not be so willing to learn, but that's fine. We'll teach them too, one way or another. After all, we're only human, and in this galaxy that's become something to be proud of.